We know much less about our ancestors than we'd probably like to believe. We've learned bits and pieces about the way they lived, the gods they worshipped, and the battles they fought. But the deeper details of their forgotten lives are still difficult to piece together. And the objects they left behind only make things stranger, because some of them continue to puzzle even the experts studying them today. Let's take a closer look at these discoveries together, starting with number 15, the mysterious Egyptian alabaster tablet. No expert, no matter how experienced, can say where this strange Egyptian object spent most of its long life. Its recorded story begins in 1830 when it appeared in a Swedish museum collection, already separated from whatever place originally gave it meaning. Tests later dated the round alabaster tablet to roughly 5,000 years ago, while the hieroglyphs covering its surface point toward ancient Egypt. Those clues should have made identification easier, yet they have done almost the opposite. Even specialists familiar with Egyptian writing have struggled to agree on what the symbols mean. Stranger still are the circular hollows arranged across its surface. They may have held oils or incense, although no comparable Egyptian vessel has ever turned up. At more than 2 feet across, it also seems unnecessarily large for such an ordinary purpose. Its unusual arrangement has even led people to compare it with some sort of control panel. That comparison proves nothing, of course, but the real explanation is hardly clearer. 5,000 years later, we still cannot confidently say what this object was meant to do. Number 14. The Dragon Houses of Euboea Well. Calling them dragon houses already gives these Greek ruins an eerie reputation, although the real puzzle is how ancient builders managed them at all. Scattered across southern Euboea, the stone structures occupy high, difficult ground and were assembled without mortar. Enormous slabs sit tightly against one another, while heavy lintels stretch above the entrances without bringing the doorways crashing down. Some individual stones are so large that moving them across steep terrain would have demanded tremendous effort. Yet no surviving account tells us who undertook the work. Their roofs add another curious detail. Circular openings were deliberately left above the chambers. Local tradition eventually connected the buildings with dragons, turning those openings into supposed entrances for the mythical creatures and the doors below into passages for humans. Archaeologists naturally favor less fantastic explanations, including shrines, shelters, or ancient watchposts, but certainty has remained elusive. Greek writers left no known description of their construction. The builders disappeared without explaining their methods, and the heavy stone rooms continue to keep that secret. Number 13. The tomb of Salome. Someone carved the name Salome into an ancient burial complex near Lachish, and centuries later that single name helped turn the place into a Christian pilgrimage site. But whether the woman remembered that there was actually the Salome associated with the birth of Jesus remains unanswered. The complex began as an elaborate Jewish tomb roughly 2,000 years ago, long before Byzantine Christians transformed its surroundings into a sacred destination. Excavations revealed a courtyard, carved chambers, inscriptions, and rows of clay lamps apparently sold or carried by pilgrims. Those visitors clearly believed they were approaching somewhere important. What they believed had happened there is harder to recover. Christian tradition identified Salome as a midwife connected with Jesus' birth, yet no archaeological evidence proves she ever entered this tomb. That uncertainty gives the place its strange pull. People traveled there, prayed there, and left lamps behind for generations. Their devotion is physically preserved, while the identity at the heart of it remains just beyond our reach. Number 12. Dam Demali at Mount Laura. People looking toward the summit of Mount Laura in Guinea often notice something the mountain was never supposed to possess: a face. Near the highest point of the Fouta Jalan Highlands, rising more than 5,100 feet above sea level, a weathered rock formation resembles the profile of a woman watching the valleys below. She has become known as Dame Damali, taking her name from a nearby town. Geologists regard the likeness as a product of natural erosion working across immense stretches of time. For local tradition, however, that answer does not carry the whole story. Some regard the stone woman as a guardian overlooking the forests and gorges beneath her, while others have wondered whether human hands once helped shape those striking features. There is no firm archaeological evidence supporting deliberate carving, but the resemblance has made her one of the area's best-known sites. Number 11. The Guanajuato alien-like figurines among the old ceramic figures associated with Mexico's Guanajuato region are faces that have caused arguments far beyond archaeology. Their heads appear oversized, their eyes broad and dark, and their proportions can feel familiar to anyone who has seen the classic description of a gray alien. That resemblance has helped them become favorites among those convinced that ancient civilizations encountered visitors from somewhere beyond Earth. The same peculiar forms do not appear in only one object either. Some exist as individual figurines, while others decorate bowls, jugs, and different ceramic pieces, suggesting the design meant something to whoever shaped them. Archaeologists have offered less dramatic possibilities. The faces may represent frogs, toads, gods, masks, or simply an artistic style that modern eyes misunderstand. But the appearance keeps pulling the conversation back towards something stranger. We are left looking at faces shaped centuries ago without knowing what their makers intended us to see. Perhaps they were ordinary symbols to them. To us, they remain wonderfully difficult to place. Number 10. The demon magic amulet Fear had a very different shape in ancient Mesopotamia. Around 2,800 years ago, someone carved an obsidian amulet connected to Lamashtu, a female demon blamed for threatening pregnant women and newborn children. Her reputation was horrifying enough, ancient images gave her a lion-like head, donkey ears, sharp claws, and other animal features. The amulet carries cuneiform writing, including an incantation invoking Lamashtu, daughter of the sky god Anu. But that wording leaves room for a darker question. Was the owner calling upon her, controlling her, or trying to force her away? Mesopotamian magic could involve invoking deadly beings as part of protection, so the inscription does not mean someone wanted harm. Still, holding an object bearing the name of a creature families genuinely feared must have carried enormous weight. We can translate its words and recognize its imagery. What we cannot recover so easily is the intention of whoever once held this black stone and what they hoped would happen afterward. Number 9. The Atlantes of Tula. 4 enormous stone warriors have watched over Tula, Mexico, for centuries. Yet their silence has outlasted much of the civilization that raised them. Known as the Atlantes of Tula, these towering figures occupy a hilltop platform once belonging to the Toltec world. Their position gives them a commanding view across the surrounding land, which has encouraged the idea that they represented guardians or warriors warning enemies away. Whatever protection they symbolized could not save the Toltecs forever. Their power collapsed during the 12th century amid invasions and growing conflict, leaving later peoples to inherit monuments whose original meaning was already fading. Even the Aztecs regarded Tula with enormous respect when they came afterward. Unfortunately, much of the written past that might have explained these statues disappeared when Aztec ruler Itzcoatl ordered older historical records destroyed. That decision left an enormous hole in the story. We can still see the warriors, their weapons, clothing, and stern stone faces. What we cannot recover so easily is why 4 giants were placed there at all. Number 8. The Lewis Chessman Well. A small purchase at a Scottish antique sale in 1964 became astonishingly valuable more than half a century later. The buyer paid less than $10 for an ivory chess piece and kept it at home, unaware that it belonged to one of the most celebrated medieval chess sets ever recovered. The Lewis chessman had originally surfaced on Scotland's Isle of Lewis in 1831. Carved around the 12th century, probably in Norway, the pieces were fashioned from walrus ivory and whale teeth, with expressive little kings, queens, bishops, knights, and warriors staring back through time. The complete collection may once have contained 93 pieces, but several disappeared somewhere along its journey. One of those missing figures was the Forgotten Purchase, a warden whose identity was finally recognized in 2019 and valued at roughly $750,000. The owner's family had protected it for more than 50 years without realizing what they possessed. Its return solved one mystery surrounding the set, yet another survived. How did this ancient medieval warrior become separated from its companions for centuries? Number 7. Batons. For thousands of years, prehistoric Europeans carried antler objects pierced with carefully shaped holes, sometimes covering them with beautiful carvings of horses, reindeer, fish, and other animals. Archaeologists later called them perforated batons, although that name tells us almost nothing about what their owners actually called them or why they needed them. Examples stretch across the Upper Paleolithic, with some dating back more than 20,000 years. Early researchers imagined symbols of authority and gave them the grand name batons de commandement. Later experiments suggested far more practical jobs, straightening spear shafts, making rope, shaping hunting equipment, or helping throw projectiles. Each possibility explains certain details while leaving others awkwardly unanswered. Decoration complicates matters further. Why spend so much time engraving an everyday workshop tool unless the object carried another meaning as well? Perhaps function and symbolism were never separate to the people who made them. We have found plenty of these batons. Strangely, finding more has not brought us much closer to understanding them. Number 6. The James ossuary. The burial chest itself fits within first-century Jewish funerary tradition, but one inscription turned it into something far more controversial. Cut into its side are Aramaic words commonly translated as James, son of Joseph, brother of Jesus. If every part of that inscription genuinely belongs to the 1st century, the box could provide rare archaeological evidence connected with figures named in the New Testament. The trouble begins with those final words. While the ossuary is ancient, critics have argued that part of the inscription may have been added much later to increase its importance and value. Israeli antiquities collector Oded Golan brought the artifact to worldwide attention in 2002 and later faced accusations of forgery connected with it. After a lengthy trial, he was acquitted of forgery charges concerning the inscription and continued defending its authenticity. Scientific examinations and scholarly arguments have not ended the dispute. The stone box is real. The question carved across it remains much harder to bury. Number 5. Kiribati coconut fiber armor. Across the remote islands of Kiribati, warriors once walked into ritual combat wearing something that hardly sounds protective at all: coconut fiber. Thick cords of senet were woven into heavy suits covering the torso, arms, and legs, sometimes accompanied by towering helmets made from dried pufferfish. Weapons edged with shark teeth made these encounters especially dangerous. Yet much about the tradition survives only through stories passed between generations. Kiribati had no written record preserving when the armor first appeared, who designed its unusual form, or how its fighting customs originally developed. Some accounts connect these formal duels with disputes over land, honor, and personal grievances, governed by rules that kept violence within accepted boundaries. European visitors later collected many surviving examples, carrying them far from the islands where their meanings began. We can study every knot and tooth today, but the voices that once explained them are largely gone. What remains is armor unlike anything elsewhere and a fighting tradition we only partly understand. Number 4. the Garima Gospels. For years, Western scholars placed these richly illustrated manuscripts somewhere around the 11th or 12th century. Radiocarbon testing changed that picture dramatically. Garima II was dated broadly between 390 and 570 C, while Garima I fell between roughly 530 and 660 CE, placing both far closer to Christianity's earliest centuries. They remain at Abba Garima Monastery in northern Ethiopia, where tradition says the Saint Garima wrote the Gospels in a single day through divine help. Science cannot confirm that story, of course, but the manuscripts themselves are remarkable enough. Their painted evangelists, decorated canon tables, and surviving pages show an artistic tradition far older than scholars once accepted. How such delicate books endured centuries of conflict, political change, and isolation is extraordinary by itself. Number 3. Casterly Henge for centuries. Casterly Henge gave away almost nothing. The broad circular earthwork near Bodmin, Cornwall, was clearly prehistoric, yet whatever once occupied its center appeared to have vanished long ago. Then, in 2022, a geophysical survey found something beneath the grass that nobody could see from above. Faint traces marked the positions of what researchers believe was a stone circle, with several stones arranged inside the roughly 5,000-year-old enclosure. The stones themselves had disappeared, possibly removed or broken centuries ago, leaving only their buried footprints behind. That discovery changed the story of Casterly Henge, but it did not explain it. Nobody knows precisely who gathered there, what ceremonies took place inside, or why the circle eventually disappeared while the surrounding bank endured. Even stranger, generations had crossed this ground without realizing what remained underneath. The landscape had remembered an arrangement that human memory had completely lost. Casterly gave archaeologists its shape back. Whatever happened inside that circle remains stubbornly out of reach. Number 2. The minaret of Jam. Loneliness seems almost built into the minaret of Jam today. Rising more than 200 feet above a remote Afghan valley, the slender tower looks strangely isolated beside the river, but the landscape around it was once anything but empty. During the 12th century, the minaret formed part of a much larger religious complex, probably connected with a great mosque whose foundations can still be traced near the riverbank. Some historians associate the area with the lost city of Firozko, the celebrated capital of the Ghurid Empire, and the legendary Turquoise Mountain. Accounts describe a prosperous place where different communities and faiths may have lived alongside one another. Then the Mongol invasions of the 13th century tore through the region, and much of that world disappeared along with its records. What survives is still incomplete. Scattered archaeological traces, and one extraordinary tower standing where a city may once have flourished. Erosion, flooding, and instability are slowly threatening even that survivor. If the minaret falls, one of the strongest witnesses to this vanished place could vanish with it. Number 1. The Kaimanawa Wall. Deep in New Zealand's Kaimanawa Forest, near Lake Taupo, a row of massive stone blocks has fueled an argument that refuses to disappear. The formation looks surprisingly deliberate. Large rectangular sections sit beside one another, divided by straight gaps that resemble carefully fitted masonry. Its appearance has even been compared with stonework on Easter Island. Geologists, however, offer a very different explanation. They consider the so-called wall a natural formation, with fractures developing as volcanic rock cooled and shifted over an immense period. Some estimates place the formation at more than 300,000 years old, far earlier than the accepted human settlement of New Zealand. That explanation has never satisfied everyone. Supporters of a human origin point toward the remarkably regular lines and block-like shapes, while local stories sometimes connect the structure with the disputed Waitaha people, said to have arrived before the Mori. Mainstream history rejects that interpretation. The argument therefore comes down to something strangely simple. Are we looking at unusual geology, or stonework belonging to a past we no longer recognize? If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe. Until then, stay curious, and we'll see you soon.